Cliff Richard, born Harry Roger Webb on October 14, 1940 in Lucknow, British India, entered the world during a period of immense upheaval. His earliest years were framed by war, political change, and the decline of the British Empire. The India of his childhood was a land of warmth, color, and community, but it was also a place where the future felt uncertain. His father worked for the Indian Railways, a role that offered stability amid a rapidly changing world, and the family lived a life that, while modest, provided a foundation of routine and care. Yet the tides of history moved faster than any family could control. With India moving toward independence, the British government urged families like the Webbs to leave. And in 1948, Harry and his family embarked on a long, disorienting journey to England. They arrived in a nation still recovering from war, gray and rationed, with a social landscape very different from the one Harry had known. For the young boy, this experience of uprooting and adaptation became an early lesson in resilience, patience, and the quiet strength required to carry on even when the world changed around him. The echoes of this displacement, the need to navigate new surroundings, and the feeling of being both a stranger and an observer would stay with him, shaping the man who would one day become a national icon. A name and a new identity. Transitioning into life in post-war Britain required more than just physical relocation. It demanded reinvention. For Harry Webb, the young boy from India, music became both a solace and a way to define himself in a place where he sometimes felt invisible. He began singing in local groups, and the combination of natural talent and hard work allowed him to stand out. As he moved toward professional performance, he adopted the stage name Cliff Richard, a choice that reflected a desire for a strong, memorable identity while remaining grounded in the simplicity he valued. This new name was not about pretension, but about creating a sense of self that could navigate the rapidly evolving entertainment landscape. It was the start of a journey that would carry him far beyond the limitations of any single stage or studio. The birth of British rock. In the late 1950s, Britain had no music of its own to rival the raw energy of American rock and roll. The airwaves were dominated by imported records, and British teenagers lacked a reflection of their own lives and aspirations in the music around them. Cliff Richard arrived with a freshness that felt revolutionary. In 1958, he recorded Move It, a track driven by rhythm and raw emotion, and unlike anything Britain had produced before. Originally, the B-side of the record was intended to receive little attention, yet when a BBC broadcaster chose to play it instead, everything shifted. Move It quickly climbed the charts, marking not just the rise of a star, but the moment Britain claimed its own voice in rock and roll. On stage, Cliff moved with a natural energy, blending rebellion with charm, and audiences responded immediately. Teenagers, previously spectators of American icons, finally saw themselves in a British performer. Alongside the Shadows, his backing band, Cliff Richard, helped shape the foundation of British youth culture, giving the nation a sound and image that felt uniquely its own. Love and restraint. Behind the public image of charm, confidence, and approachability, Cliff's personal life was marked by love that he carried quietly and deeply. Unlike the public's expectation of flamboyant romance, his heart moved in restraint and reflection. One of the most enduring stories was his connection with Olivia Newton-John. In 1971, he invited the young Australian singer to appear on his variety show, instantly recognizing a presence and talent that transcended mere performance. Their bond grew over the years, though circumstances and loyalty guided his choices. Olivia was engaged to Bruce Welch, Cliff's close friend and fellow musician, and he honored that relationship with discretion and respect. Even after Olivia and Bruce separated, Cliff never sought to rewrite history, choosing instead to preserve a friendship and creative partnership rooted in trust and mutual respect. Over decades, their collaboration in music and performance allowed the world to witness a unique, tender connection, one that existed quietly yet powerfully, reflecting emotions that were never fully visible in headlines or public appearances. Their duet in 2015 at the Royal Albert Hall served as a poignant farewell, and when Olivia passed in 2022, Cliff focused on celebrating her life rather than dwelling on loss, underscoring a maturity and serenity that had guided his private life for decades. Breaking into film and culture, Cliff Richard's impact extended beyond music as he ventured into film during a period when British cinema was seeking youthful energy and optimism. His early films, such as The Young Ones and Summer Holiday, captured the hopes and tensions of a post-war generation while blending entertainment with moments of cultural significance. These films resonated because Cliff's screen presence was genuine, light, approachable, yet emotionally grounded. Audiences saw him not just as a performer, but as a reflection of a generation's aspirations and resilience. By the early 1960s, Cliff had not only dominated the charts, but also led box offices, a rare feat for any British performer, and particularly for someone preceding the global phenomenon of the Beatles. He wasn't imitating trends, he was creating them, and his contributions helped define the early contours of modern British pop culture. Faith and personal conviction. In 1966, at the height of fame, Cliff Richard publicly spoke about his Christian faith, a decision that surprised fans and peers alike. At a time when pop music and celebrity culture were leaning into rebellion and indulgence, he chose discipline, reflection, and spiritual honesty. Rather than retreating from the spotlight, Cliff allowed his beliefs to quietly inform his life and career, creating a foundation of integrity and self-awareness. While some fans drifted away, many were drawn to the authenticity he embodied, appreciating a performer whose identity was shaped by more than fame alone. Cliff later reflected that faith gave him a sturdier sense of self, one that did not rely on applause or approval, and this inner grounding allowed him to navigate both professional success and personal challenges with consistency and dignity. Reinvention and relevance. The mid-1970s brought new musical styles, audiences, and expectations, and many established artists found themselves eclipsed by emerging trends. Cliff Richard, however, embraced reinvention without abandoning his core. Tracks such as Devil Woman and We Don't Talk Anymore showcased a contemporary sound that connected with new listeners while remaining true to his emotional and musical foundation. These songs were not attempts to chase trends, but thoughtful evolutions that demonstrated artistic growth and relevance. Through this period, Cliff proved that longevity in music required both adaptability and authenticity, a balance that few artists successfully achieve. His career trajectory illustrated that reinvention, when guided by sincerity and self-knowledge, could be both seamless and powerful. Trials in the public eye. Despite decades of careful navigation, Cliff Richard's life was not without profound challenges. In 2014, he faced a highly publicized police investigation, an ordeal that brought intense scrutiny before any conclusions were reached. While no charges were ever made, the process was disruptive and stressful, highlighting the vulnerability even of long-established public figures. Cliff approached the situation with measured calm, seeking legal recourse to ensure fairness and privacy, ultimately achieving resolution through the courts. This chapter underscored the resilience and composure he had cultivated over a lifetime, demonstrating that personal dignity and quiet strength often matter more than public perception. For Cliff, the experience was less about vindication and more about reclaiming peace of mind and reaffirming the importance of integrity, even in the face of adversity. Relationships that lasted in song. Throughout his life, music became the vehicle for relationships, emotions, and connection. His collaborations with Olivia Newton-John, as well as enduring bonds with bandmates like Bruce Welch, illustrated a devotion to loyalty, trust, and creative partnership. These relationships were not always about romance. They were about understanding, respect, and mutual inspiration. Through decades of performance, touring, and recording, Cliff maintained friendships that enriched both his personal and professional life. When audiences listened to their duets, they heard a depth of feeling that transcended lyrics, a sincerity born from decades of shared experiences, creative trust, and unspoken understanding. The weight of longevity. Few artists experience the shifts Cliff Richard has witnessed over a career spanning more than 6 decades. From the emergence of British rock to the explosion of global pop, from the cultural revolutions of the 1960s to the digital transformations of the 21st century, Cliff has navigated each era with balance and awareness. Longevity in entertainment is rarely simply about talent. It is also about patience, humility, and resilience. Cliff's career exemplifies this principle. He remained visible yet unhurried, ambitious yet measured, and through it all, his work maintained a consistent sense of quality and purpose. He understood that relevance does not come from mimicry or reinvention alone, but from a commitment to one's values and to the craft itself. Artistry rooted in authenticity. At every stage of his career, Cliff Richard's artistry has been grounded in authenticity, from the raw energy of Move It to the reflective maturity of later works. His music has been a reflection of both the times and his own evolving self. He has embraced changes in style, production, and audience expectation without ever losing his voice or identity. This steadfastness has allowed him to forge a connection with multiple generations, proving that when art is sincere, it transcends era, trend, and expectation. Fans respond not only to skill or performance, but to the sense that the artist behind the work is genuine, a principle Cliff has embodied throughout his life. A life of quiet courage. Beyond charts, tours, and awards, Cliff Richard's story is one of quiet courage. It is the courage to love without public display, to remain faithful to personal beliefs amid external pressure, to reinvent without compromise, and to endure hardship with dignity. In every challenge, he has shown resilience not as spectacle, but as lived experience. His life is a testament to the value of patience, ethical consistency, and respect for both oneself and others. These qualities, though less flashy than headline news, have defined his legacy more profoundly than any hit single. The enduring voice. Cliff Richard's voice has remained familiar and comforting to generations of listeners, not because it is unchanging, but because it is honest. In every note and performance, there's a reflection of a life lived with intention, restraint, and integrity. Whether singing about love, joy, hope, or reflection, his music conveys the presence of a man who has known the highs and lows of human experience and yet has approached them with steadiness and grace. His enduring voice reminds audiences that true artistry is inseparable from authenticity, and that a performer's real impact lies not just in entertainment, but in the trust, respect, and emotional connection cultivated over a lifetime. Legacy beyond the spotlight. Today, Cliff Richard's legacy is measured not only in record sales, chart positions, or box office numbers, remarkable though they are. It is measured in the way he navigated fame and life with consistency, patience, and empathy. It is seen in the relationships he cultivated, the music he created, and the example he has set for succeeding generations of performers. His story is one of endurance, quiet reflection, and the wisdom that comes from a life lived deliberately. In every decade, he has adapted, grown, and thrived without losing the core of who he is, offering a model for artistry and humanity alike. Closing reflection. Cliff Richard's life, from the upheaval of childhood in colonial India to becoming Britain's first rock and roll icon, is a story of adaptation, resilience, and integrity. His experiences reveal a man who loved quietly, created passionately, and faced public challenges with calm and dignity. Through decades of cultural change, musical evolution, and personal reflection, he has remained a constant, authentic, grounded, and devoted to his craft. His story is not just the tale of a pop star, but of a man whose life demonstrates that success, love, and character can coexist, and that the true measure of achievement lies in remaining steadfast and true to oneself. It is this combination of endurance, sincerity, and quiet courage that ensures Cliff Richard's place not just in music history, but in the hearts of those who have grown with him, sung with him, and felt in his music the reflection of a life fully lived.